Swanky 93.3 radio station. The Heat 94.6 radio station.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another exciting podcast here today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the K.L.P. Aftermath Season 5. Welcome back to the studio, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for staying tuned, number one. Happy week, guys. I know it's been a second, right? It's been a minute since we've been doing some K.L.P. Aftermath. So, guys, go check out the latest episode Beyond the Swanky podcast. Let me tell you, it is a podcast that you guys don't want to miss because that last episode we did, we had a blast. Of course, as you guys know, we've got T. He's here. Monica's here. James is here. Everybody's here in the studio, back to the studio, Swanky Studios, to give you guys yet another exciting podcast here today. And let me just say that this podcast is going to be very special because we do have some topics of conversation, Monica. Topics of conversations. Of course, we do have an elephant of the room as well. But I got to get to the housekeeping rules, the housekeeping things that's going on with K.L.P. Entertainment and our radio networks, of course. Next week, the countdown is on, guys. Next week, we head to New York City. I cannot wait. Guys, stay tuned. Next week, K.L.P. Aftermath Season 5, live from New York. It is going to be a slam dunk podcast. You guys do not want to sleep on it because that is a podcast that we've been doing for a while, obviously. But, you know, coming back to the great state of New York is quite exciting. I'm ready for it. A lot of us are ready for New York. You guys can go to our website right now, www.lucas94.wings.com/KLPE. You can click the link on the homepage. It links you to our countdown to the New York tour. And we did this last year, right? New York tour. It's here, guys. Of course, we're filming a documentary. We're making a new album. Of course, we're touring. We're eating. We're podcasting. We're doing some photography work. It's a whole New York tour. It starts next week. February 9th through the 15th. Can't wait. I'm so excited. So just wait for the podcast, guys. Live from New York is going to be really fun, and I cannot wait. Now, let's get to our sponsor for today. And this sponsor we know very well. Now, we all know today's the first day of Black History Month. It's the first day of February. February 1st is here. I'm excited. Everybody is quite excited for what we like to call Valentine's Day. And for our sponsor, hey Deems, shout out to you. My sister Deamber Patterson, a couple of weeks ago, she opened up her online store, Floral Haven XO. And let me tell you guys, my gentlemen, if you're shopping for your girls or your guys, my girls, if you're shopping for your man or your woman, you don't want to just go to an average store and get some flowers, right? You don't want to spend money on Kroger flowers that might die on that person a couple hours later, right? Let me tell you why you need to go to Floral Haven XO. Because these flowers, and I've seen these flowers, right? They're quality, right? Deamber, the owner, my sister, Floral Haven XO, she takes the flowers, right? She gets the flowers ready. She waters them up with that special secret sauce. I can't really tell y'all what the secret sauce, because it's a family business. It's a little ingredient there that I can't expose, but that little secret sauce, if you will, to make sure them flowers stay alive for a very long time. Her packaging is incredible, and you're getting quality and the great look of those roses from Floral Haven XO versus Kroger flowers that people go and spend $10 on and it dies on them 2 hours later. Floral Haven XO has flowers for the greatest quality, and that's what you're getting with Floral Haven XO. Again, guys, shop at Floral Haven XO today. Get your Valentine's Day arrangements in order by ordering from Floral Haven XO. She is taking Valentine's Day orders for right now and getting ready for Valentine's Day. You guys do not want to miss out on that as well. Deammer, shout out to you. Floral Haven XO, always a proud sponsor of our show, K.L.P Aftermath. So now that we've got that great sponsor on out the way, we've got some things that we need to talk about here today on the episode, the K.L.P Aftermath. And you guys know what I like to do. In all the shows that we've been doing, I like to get a little spicy with it, Monica. You know what I mean. I like to get a little spicy with it. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we have what we like to call the elephant of the room. Of course, the elephant of the room comes from a story, sources from TMZ, and of course, my favorite show, one of my favorite shows out there from the Black Effect Podcast Network, The Breakfast Club, with just Charlamagne and DJ Envy. I can't say Angela Yee anymore, but they did their Donkey of the Day episode about this topic. I listened and I said I wanted to give my own take of this story for Elephant of the Room for today's Elephant of the Room for the K.L.P Aftermath season 5, might I add. See, 5 seasons in, guys. We got an announcement for season 6. So this story comes out with the Circus of, I think it's called the Circus of Music. It's an adult store in West Hollywood. And the story comes out to a man shoplifting from this adult store, and it's been alleged that he has stolen a 30-inch dildo. Now, honestly, I didn't even think they make these things, right? Well, I knew they make dildos, but I did not know they make it up to 30 inches. Wow. Like, I never thought that they would do that, T. So, I saw the story. This man, and they didn't release the name from our stories, from everybody's podcasting today. They don't have a name. They just say a gentleman from Circus of Music, West Hollywood. And sources are saying that, this thing was, 30 inches. It weighed a lot. It was, some people might even say it was one of the most incredible things that they've ever seen. Now, and I'm not going to be, immature on the show. I've seen dildos, right? We know, right? I've seen it. I haven't played with one, obviously, but I've seen one, and those things they're getting innovative, right? They're making these things really, really innovative. But this man stole a 30-inch dildo from a store. Wow. And the question I propose to a lot of people: what do you guys think that gentleman that stole that 30-inch dildo? Why did he need it, right? Could it be he's buying it for a friend, or, well, in this case, stole it for a friend? Do he want to use it, right? Maybe he is not out of the closet, out into the community quite just yet, and he's, I don't know, ashamed to be in it, so he's keeping it a secret, and that's why he had to steal it. I don't know, but they really make these things 30 inches. I never thought they would make 30-inch dildos like that, but they make those and they sell them and people buy them and people use them. So that's why it's a funny story, but I gotta have them to be the elephant of the room. And I simply say, for anybody who steals stuff, elephant of the room, right, from a store, it's not worth going to jail over. It's not worth getting in trouble for stealing something, especially something of that caliber. Again, buy it, don't buy it, just don't steal it, ladies and gentlemen. But that's the story. And this gentleman, again, our sources are saying that the name was not disclosed in the reports, but elephant of the room goes out to that gentleman. Again, 30 inches, right? I just, whoa. Sex toys are getting a lot more innovative, T, I gotta say, because, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, right? I haven't bought or buy any sex toys of my own. I haven't. But you can buy those, right? There's been a video where this gentleman has bought a real life, about 5 feet, real life sex doll, right? And Amazon sells them for about $70,000. Now, to some people, that's chump change. To me, that's a lot of money. I never, ever would buy something like that. But there was a video, right? It come with clothes, right? This sex doll came with some clothes, shoes, bra, panties. Like, it came with everything. And the material, how they made it almost the same as human skin. So like I say, sex toys, they're getting innovative. They're getting very, very innovative. A lot of people are turning to sex toys for alternatives, and that's what people do. They make these things, and they're switching that up, and they're making different alternatives for these things. Um, but it is quite interesting that these sex toys are out there. It's quite interesting from the story. They sell dildos up to 30 inches. I whoa, like I never thought that could be T, but it does happen. So I got to give that gentleman elephant of the room. But it's interesting. Sex toys are getting quite interesting out there in the world, in the environment, and it's a little crazy, right? It's not, I can't say it's weird, right? That's one thing I'm never gonna say when somebody buys a sex toys. It's natural, right? It's the same thing if because people get weirded out about that, T. They do. A lot of people get weirded out about buying a sex toy for themselves, whether it's a dildo or a fleshlight or a sex toy. People get weirded out about that. It's the same thing where people get weirded out about masturbating, even though it's gross. Don't tell people you masturbate, right? But people get weird about that thing, and that's to me, honestly, I gotta say that is, it's very natural that you masturbate. Just don't tell people you masturbate. Don't share it like it's a glory story. But people do masturbate, and people feel weirded when they find out that somebody masturbates. It's honestly, I think it's totally normal. It keeps your blood pumping a little bit, in a way. And this is not just from movies. This is just what I've read, T, on science. It's that people say it's healthy to masturbate. Some people, I did read this one article, and I'm not trying to jump all over the place, but I did read this one article where if you masturbate too much, you become blind. I don't know about that. I'm not a doctor. I don't know about that, but it's interesting, to say the least. So for that gentleman that stole the 30-inch dildo, of course, he is the biggest elephant of the room simply because he stole, right? But it's weird. It's a weird dynamic for sure. So we got Addison Hayden up in the studio. Of course, Addison Hayden is our correspondent, and she responds on hip hop news. So, Addison, take it away. What is our hip hop news for today's episode?
Latto is back in the studio and has teased another pop anthem on the heels of the massive commercial success of her Mariah Carey sampling Big Energy. On Tuesday, January 31st, the Georgia-bred rapper took to Twitter to post a clip of her in the studio twerking and making it rain dollar bills with a couple of friends while her next single boomed through the speakers. Latto's new music comes on the heels of the madness surrounding her used panties eBay auction earlier this week. The Grammy-nominated rapper's underwear came under scrutiny over the weekend when an eagle-eyed Twitter user called her out for wearing the same cheetah print thong in two separate photos, to which Latto clapped back with, "Oh no, it's the panty police." The Big Energy hitmaker took her response one step further on Monday, January 30th, by giving her fans an inside look at her panty drawer and revealing her plans to wear a pair today and sell them tomorrow. Staying true to her word, Latto later posted a link to an eBay auction of her cheetah print panties, with bidding starting at 99 cents. Latto's everyday cheetah print panties. The item's description read, "Used as seen on Latto multiple times." Within hours, social media had been buzzing with Latto's antics as bidding had reached tens of thousands of dollars, at one point climbing to a whopping $95,650 after more than 100 bids. Although Latto won't be celebrating a five-figure payday from her panties, as eBay removed the auction due to it violating their policies. Used underwear is not allowed on site. Please report any listings you see in breach of policy, eBay's customer service page, at AskBay, wrote on Twitter in response to a fan who flagged the listing. Meanwhile, Latto could see her star power reach new heights this weekend, as she remains the betting favorite to win Best New Artist at the 2023 Grammy Awards.
Thank you, Addison, of course, for that hip hop news. That's what we do, K.L.P Aftermath. We get other people on in front of the mic and get them ready for their news report or whatever they want to talk about on the podcast for sure. Now, I did say, and I kind of announced it a little bit when it came down to the future of podcasting, right? I know we're a little bit early, and this is just kind of me saying my 2 cents in this, because it segues into our next topic. This summer is going to be quite interesting, guys. You just have to wait for it. I'm working on this new show. Again, I still can't give you guys the name, but I'm working on this new show, this new podcast that's going to be out in air this summer. And all as always with my podcast shows, K.L.P Aftermath, Beyond the Swanky podcast is going to be amazing this summer. And we've got this one, it's not a new show, right? It's a show where we're going to come back, kind of like if you guys remember the K.L.P Aftermath show. Not the Aftermath show, because that's this show, but the K.L.P in the Morning show where we had a stage and lighting. Of course, we're bringing the style of that show back again for the summer. You guys enjoyed it, that we talked about it this summer, and we were on a stage. We had the stage lighting and so on and so forth on stage as well. Quite exciting for that this summer. The first episode where we're going to be in a different studio with lightings, with a 4K camera, light kits, and the stage, of course, in Atlanta. We're going to be doing a super show when we talk about E3. Of course, E3, segueing over to our next segment here, we got to talk about E3. And I kind of want to give my take on E3 this year. And of course, we're going to be on that super show that I am hosting this summer. We're going to be talking about all the games that got announced and my take on it on an actual stage. It's going to be sweet. It's going to be very fun to put together. And with those shows, when it's the lights, the 4K cameras, the lighting, the stage, that's our most expensive setup. It is. It's very expensive to get a show like that together. But I'm bringing it back. I'm so stoked about it this summer. And typically when it's a super show like that, something big has to happen, right? Whether if we're talking about the Super Bowl or we're talking about E3, the Oscars, that's when that show comes out. Now, I mentioned E3, and I saw on Twitter today, right? This news is about a couple of days old, so it's not as current, Monica. It's not. But this is a story, right? This is a story that's been brewing, but I seen this coming, guys. I've seen it. I've seen this coming. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo will not have a presence at E3 this year. Now, I've watched a lot of YouTubers review. I watched Spawnwave from John. I watched the Review Tech USA with Rich. I watched RTJ85 with Sean. I saw a lot of everybody's, a lot of YouTubers' reaction about E3 this year. And I thought it was fitting to talk about it here on our show. K.L.P Aftermath Season 5, by the way. Still kicking it. Okay. Here's my take on it. I believe most of us saw this coming. Right? I did. We haven't had PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo at E3 for the past, I want to say 4 years. It might have been longer than that, but I got to say, for me, 4 years, right? They didn't present a lot in 2019. 2020, nobody presented because it was COVID. 2021, we were still in a pandemic, so they said no. 2022 is when they say, hey, we're just gonna develop our own show, right? We're gonna do our own little press conference, put things together in our home-based studios, put a video together and premiere it live for YouTube because it's super cheap to do that, right? Same thing with 2022, and that's the same thing we're gonna get this year in 2023. So about 4 or 5 years, they haven't been in the light of things, right? I know a lot of people were upset. I saw it on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. Everybody was upset But honestly, I'm not upset. I'm not, because a lot of people have to understand, when you're running a multi-million, maybe billion-dollar, with Microsoft, billion-dollar company, they're going to find ways to save money, right? And we have to understand that this their business perspective, right? It is a lot, is it's millions and millions and millions of dollars of production fees, ad revenue, marketing tools, right? It takes a lot. Is for them to display their content on E3 websites. They're paying millions of ad revenue dollars to get their stuff on that platform. And they're figuring ways out now that they're cutting their ad revenue, marketing campaign, premiere setups, show setups, graphic design. They're saving a lot of money to not be an E3, so they can put that back in towards the company, right? And I've seen, when analysts here at K.L.P, we all seen that happen, right? We know that this was going to happen, and a lot of people were upset, right? We have to understand, and I'll be honest, I used to be in some ways I'm still kind of am. I used to be a huge E3 fan. I loved E3. I loved it when the developers and publishers are at the showcase, and it's a big show, and it's like the Super Bowl of gaming, if you will. And I know that title kind of goes to the Game Awards, but they can kind of go to that for E3 as well. I know. But a lot of people, including us here, we can push and publish and produce our own show, and it's costing us half the cost, right? Instead of going to another show where we have to spend millions of dollars on, right? It's kind of like the same scenario, and we can kind of compare this because we're kind of analyzing here on today's show. But you guys remember G4, right? And we're not going to go about Frost's rant and all that bullshit. We're not going to go there, but it's kind of the same scenario where G4 tried to come back, but then they realized, and the market realized, there's a lot of YouTubers that have the same kind of show, if not better shows, producing better content than G4, and they're not spending that much money to produce their great content and publish it out for YouTube and get that revenue, right? Same kind of concept. For E3 and these publishers, they're saying, okay, we're going to do our own show because we're going to put our own spin on it and have the focus on us, and then we can upload it to our YouTube channel, GameSpot's YouTube channel, Game Rant's YouTube channel, IGN's YouTube channel. Wherever you can get gaming outlet, you can have that publishing there on YouTube. And to take it a step further, because we dabble in this obviously, is that they can take their show and they can upload it to podcasting, right? Whether it's Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Audacity, TuneIn. Folks are finding a way to pivot away from spending money and still run their company, right? That's something that we obviously do here at K.L.P Entertainment, guys, is we find ways to do things and keep getting better quality content for cheap to save us some money, some revenue, some ad money, right? It's the same thing with these publishers, right? Microsoft, Xbox, PlayStation 5 with Sony and PlayStation, Nintendo with the Switch. They're saving money, right? Nintendo Direct's been doing it. Nintendo has been doing Nintendo Direct for the longest time because they realize, hey, this works. We can reach the same amount of audience, if not even more audiences, by just doing this, and we're saving money. Same thing with PlayStation. They can have state of play, premiere the new games that's coming out, and they look at it, look at the numbers and say, hey, we're reaching, if not more, the same audiences as we were if we were to go to E3, and we cut it in half, our budget in half. It's a no-brainer. So I think people are not going to watch E3, right? I know a lot of third-party developers are going to get there because if they don't have the sponsorship for these big gaming publishers, they're going to go to E3 because they've got to get their game out. But yes, E3 is not going to be the same. It's not. E3 is dying. E3, I wouldn't be surprised if next year they just cancel E3 and just close the company down in general. I would not be surprised, right? Because this is the writing that's written on the wall there. It's coming, right? It is coming where E3 is going to be obsolete. It's the same thing. Again, I compared it earlier with G4, guys. G4 it became obsolete because of the lack of content creating. I mean, honestly, I can say that I can produce better content than what some of their videos that they had, but I digress. The rant didn't help at all, and the unhealthy employees that work there. But it's just realizing that the market is not there to bring back. Rich from Review Tech USA said this, and it's going to be still in my brain because this works. He said you cannot resell nostalgia. You can't. And Rich, somehow, if you listen to the podcast, you were a genius by saying that, because I agree. You cannot resell nostalgia. Nostalgia's there, and people might look at it, but a lot of people are looking about what's innovative, right? What's new. We're going to invest in new technology, right? It's a no-brainer, guys. So that's just my take on it. E3, like I say, it's not going to be the same. It won't. It will not be the same. That E3... And maybe I wouldn't even be surprised they just canceled it again this year, right? I would not be surprised, because you're realizing the big three, Nintendo, Microsoft, PlayStation, the big three is not going to be at E3. So I think E3 is going to lose a lot of money, right? Because most people like me, now I don't really have, I tend to lean towards PlayStation a little bit more, because the console that I'm playing lately is my PlayStation 5. So I lean towards PlayStation because that's the newest console that I have. But if your big three's not there, let's say I'm a huge PlayStation fan, and I find out that PlayStation's not going to be at E3, why the hell I'm going to buy an E3 ticket? Spend hundreds of dollars on an E3 ticket if my favorite developer and publisher is not going to be there. What's the purpose of me going to E3? And that's the problem with E3. That's going to be the biggest problem, where a lot of consumers are going to say, PlayStation or Microsoft's not going to be E3. Why would I spend rent money on going to a conference that my publisher is not going to even be there? That's a waste of money in my eyes. I'm not going to E3. Right? That's going to be the problem with E3 this year. I feel like that's going to be the big problem with E3 this year. And like I say, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at PlayStation. I'm not mad at Xbox and Microsoft and Nintendo. They're saving money, right? They're finding ways to save every dollar they can. So it's just business. And I say that very harshly, because I know a lot of people were just so pissed off, Monica. They were so pissed off on Twitter. And we talked, and I was like, they're doing this business, right? Anybody with a business degree will understand. Okay, I get it. Your business. It's nothing personal. It's just, hey, we need to save money on this. So, like I say, comment below. What are your thoughts, guys, for E3 this year? Do you think that it's going to be the same? Our take, no, it's not going to be the same. I feel like E3, if not being canceled, is not going to sell well this year, and that's going to lead into 2024, where they say, okay, E3 might be bankrupt. We might need to file for bankrupt because we're losing money because of the big three dropping out, because they need to save money for themselves, and hey, that's just business. So that's just my take on it for sure. E3 is not going to be the same, guys. It will not be the same. But of course, we're going to be doing our show, the Big Super Show. We're going to have a stage and lighting and a 4K camera this summer. When E3 is finished and complete, we're going to do a big show to talk about the biggest games that are coming out for 2023. Well, look forward to that video. Again, that's going to be the summertime. I know we got a couple of months, right? We're only in February, and E3's E3 season is around June. So I know we're a little bit early, but I can't wait, because here at K.L.P Entertainment, so we have our meetings, and we had quite a few stage designs. Stage designs on paper, and we're realizing, we're analyzing time frame and whatnot. To do a show like that, guys, you guys got to understand, it's like making a movie. It takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, a lot of money, a lot of pressure. So hopefully I host that show really well. Can't wait for that as well. So moving on, and we do have some topics of conversation here today. But I gotta do what we like to call a must game review. It's kind of similar to the must watch show that we've done. But yeah, so today I had the chance to play this new game, and I wanted to give my first impressions of this game. Of course, I am such a kid, right? Because THQ Nordic, they got something here. Now, THQ Nordic's latest game, SpongeBob SquarePants, The Cosmic Shake, I gotta say, guys, it is a good game. I gotta come out there and say it. Now, I played the game today, of course. We picked it up. $40, not bad for a video game of its statue. I honestly think maybe they could have got away more if the game was $30. But who am I to say? I played the game. I like the story. And I gotta give you guys my review about the game because I genuinely enjoyed it. I really did. Yeah, so I enjoyed the game. I really did enjoy the game for sure. You're playing as SpongeBob and you're really trying to figure out what's going on with the phenomenon. Of course, you've got this mermaid that gives SpongeBob and Patrick the special bubbles where they were blowing bubbles and everybody came around town and he's blowing the bubbles, the bubble pops, and then dimensions are going out. So let me tell you why this game works. And THQ Nordic, they're understanding the market, right? Every game that I played so far, I gotta say, we have something to where they're traveling between realms. Either it's realms or dimensions, right? You look at God of War, you're traveling through realms. You're looking at Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, you're going through the dimensions, right? So THQ follows that formula. They followed the formula to the T, and it works, right? It does work for them. It works out to where you're going through different dimensions to find friends like Mr. Krabs, Mrs. Puff, Squidward, all the friends that you're going around, you're following. This reminds you of a little bit of SpongeBob SquarePants Rehydrated or Battle for the Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. I played that game. I beat it for Xbox. That was an excellent addition. That was a great start to THQ's remake. But now this game, let me tell you why this game is so great in my eyes. Because they're taking the formula of Rehydrated T, right? And they created a whole new game. This is not a remake for anything. This is a game that they built from what looks like the ground up with a little bit of formulas with SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated to create a new story, right? And it's original, right? And we're wanting to play something very new like this where it's original. It's not the same. It's not repetitive. You're going through these different dimensions. It's a platform. Now, that's one of the things I like the most is the platforming sequence. I love platformers. I enjoy platformers. It's one of my favorite when dabbling down into platforming. I really do enjoy the platform style of gameplay. So that's why I got so hooked on it. I like the mechanics where you're wearing different costumes, right? Wherever costume that you pick, that's the costume that you get to wear throughout the mission, right? When you're going through the mission, you're wearing that costume, and then you switch out to a different costume when it comes down to where you are going through another dimension, level, stage, right? So it's very, very interesting. This game also has kind of an open world concept to it. I was scared that this game was going to be very linear and not really much of open world. Now we all know with Hydrated, where Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, obviously that's an open world type game, if you will. But I was nervous that this game was going to be straight linear, right? This game is pretty much like an open world sequence. That's another thing that THQ Nordic, they're understanding that market where say, hey, okay, open worlds are selling right now. You look at Elden Ring, which is not really my favorite, but because it's just too hard. I can't play it. I got it from my PlayStation 5. I died 25 million times. I just gave up on it. And I hate that too because I paid $50 for that. But they're following the formulas like Elden Ring. They're following the formulas like Sonic Frontiers, right? Where it's an open world concept, and they're realizing that the market that everybody is dabbling into this open world sequence. And that's going to be the future of gaming. It is. So, like I say, that's kind of the premise of the game. Of course, it's about 8 hours. So when you're done with the game, you can come back and collect collectibles and find different areas and different sequences. But for what it is, I recommend it. For $40, not bad. For the first part, it's not bad. I really recommend people going out, checking the game, play it for yourself, see how you like it. If you like it, you like it. If you hate it, you hate it. It's not for you. But for $40, not bad. Not bad indeed. Not bad. It's good, guys. I enjoy that game. And I played it, you know. It's good, right? For what it is, it's good. It really is good. And I like how they have the original voice actors too. They didn't use somebody else for Mr. Krabs, because that was the biggest gripe that I saw on Twitter when the game was getting ready to be released. They say, do not use whoever voiced Mr. Krabs and rehydrate it. Get the original voice actor, and they've had the original voice actors in the game, so that's always a plus, right? For sure. So we got Arthur Brooks up in the building. Of course, we like to talk about our sports news. Check out his latest video, by the way, here on K.L.P Entertainment. Of course, we did a sports news. He gave his Super Bowl predictions. Of course, it's going to be the Chiefs versus the Eagles this year for Super Bowl in this month, February 12th, I want to say. So guys, check that video out. If you haven't checked it, of course, he gives his take on that, but he also has more sports news here on today's episode. Of course, Arthur, take it away, man.
3 first-round draft picks, 2 second-round picks, 2 solid NFL starters, Shelby Harris and Noah Fant, and 2 bar-setting contracts. This is the bounty that the Denver Broncos paid for Russell Wilson and his newly presumed career resurrector, Sean Payton. That represents one losing hand and a double down to recoup the losses. Broncos fans should be prepared for the white-knuckling that comes along with it. That's not meant to conjure a dark cloud over Denver's trade for Payton on Tuesday. It was the best available move made under the less than ideal circumstance of requiring a quarterback savior. Whether or not Payton was Denver's first choice, well, that belongs to the history books. Maybe we'll never really know. All that matters now is that he's in place and the priority list in front of him is crystal clear. For at least the next 3 seasons of Wilson's $242 million contract extension, Payton has to do whatever he can to restore, reboot, /reprogram /recalibrate his status as a viable Super Bowl competitor. In a more granular sense, Payton has to showcase the aptitude that helped him shape a pass-heavy offense early in Drew Brees' career into a more balanced complementary scheme as Brees aged out of the league. Can Payton do that for Wilson? Certainly. Should there be a reality check about what that means? Absolutely. This is going to be hard. This isn't going to be as simple as turning a key and expecting everything to transform overnight. The upside here is Payton isn't Nathaniel Hackett, so he comes in knowing what needs to be done to succeed. The downside is that Sean Payton isn't Nathaniel Hackett and he's actually willing to do whatever it takes to the current roster and organization to make it succeed. That means it's going to be constructed and operated in his image. And none of us knows what that might entail. If 2022 taught Broncos fans anything, it's that expecting big results and actually seeing them come to fruition is hardly guaranteed. 5 months ago, Denver's future was hotter than the surface of the sun. Then the regular season kicked off and the sun exploded, swallowing the entire season with it. Broncos country and Wilson rode together off a cliff. It was an ill-fated journey that has been blamed largely, and rightfully, on the failings of Hackett, who didn't appear to have the bandwidth required to be an NFL head coach. Payton has that in spades. That still doesn't guarantee this is going to work. Every head coach comes into a franchise carrying a wide array of ideologies with them. That ranges from how the front office should function and procure talent, to what kind of traits that talent should exhibit on a daily basis, to opinions on communication, roster building, ownership involvement, it goes on and on. The language learning aspects of this can be encyclopedic. That's no small thing, especially when it involves a head coach with long-standing success at a previous stop. That experience tends to make them stubborn about what works and what doesn't. This is why culture churn often destroys franchises that swap in new coaches every few years. The ramifications often run deep and headlong into personnel changes. See Denver's recent history. There is zero chance, this isn't an adjustment under Payton, who is being hired to build the culture he knows and not adapt to the one he inherits. Denver's roster is going to change. While this happens every season, hiring elite-level coaches typically leads to significant alterations inside depth charts in the off-season between year 1 and 2. Coaches like Payton know what kind of players they want as leaders. They know what they expect in different skills. They have demands when it comes to attitude, effort, and other intangibles. The result of that is change inside the depth chart. Key players fall out of favor. Draft picks from pre-existing years don't have the same level of commitment. Past free agent signings suddenly don't fit the design of a changing landscape. There will be turnover. And that will create a revealing dynamic about how Payton and General Manager George Paton, and Payton's personnel staff, function together. There will be scheme changes, playbook changes, practice changes. The entire way that players learn is now up for an audit. Hackett was lauded because he had a fun style that was entertaining and connecting to his players on a personal level. Payton's can be enjoyable, but it's also extremely expectation-driven and results-oriented when it comes to applause. He will push players. He will spar with them. He will bury them on the bench. And when it comes time to being critical about who is making the cut and who isn't, he's not always going to shy away from being honest in his assessments with the media. That's going to be an important point for Wilson. Regardless of how he plays, his $242 million contract extension is going to be a financial impediment that has to be negotiated. There is no realistic exit until after the 2025 season. That means when it comes to the Super Bowl window, if one can be achieved in the next 3 seasons, the Broncos are operating with a quarterback who costs the massive freight of his salary. This isn't going to be the Los Angeles Rams in 2021 with Matthew Stafford. It's not going to be the Philadelphia Eagles in 2017 with Nick Foles on a backup contract and Carson Wentz on a rookie deal. There is no flexibility to work with when it comes to Wilson's salary cap hit. So he either lives up to it and carries the team in the way that was expected prior to 2022, or the law firm of Payton and Payton will be tasked with rebuilding a team and scheme that covers Wilson's flaws long enough to get him out of the franchise. Maybe the return of Denver's litany of injured players helps to smooth that process in 2023. Maybe Payton's reconstruction of everything under the hood helps to recapture Wilson's Hall of Fame momentum. Or maybe all of the suggestive griping out of the Seattle Seahawks turns out to be founded in a reality that was concealed until after Wilson's trade to the Broncos. Maybe he really is in a state of decay that can't be repaired, and this is all far worse than a Hackett issue. The answers to those mysteries are coming. Payton's hire assures that much. One way or another, something is going to change about this franchise and whatever went wrong in 2022. But the thought that this is going to be an easy process is another mistake. And the Broncos should have learned their lessons about that over the past 5 months.
Thanks, Arthur, so much. It's always good to have the crew up in the studio to give our takes and stuff on the show as well. Now, before we close out of today's episode, a couple of more announcements before we wrap up here on the podcast. First off, of course, I've got the latest playlist. Of course, I present Hopeless Romantic 2023. The playlist is now available and exclusively on Spotify. Of course, that playlist, Hopeless Romantic 2023, brought to you by K.L.P Entertainment's very own Round Bass Music. If you guys don't know what Round Bass Music is an acquisition for K.L.P Entertainment where they highlight, they help distribute and market music for our business. very, very good for that team over there at Round Base Music. They're presenting a playlist of mine, Hopeless Romantic 2023, as we get ready for Valentine's Day. Take a listen, guys. It's exclusively on Spotify. You guys, this is some good music. You got Tank, you got Chris Brown, you got Her, you got Lucky Day, Coco Jones, you got Monty Long. I've got a lot of people on this playlist, so guys, check that playlist out right now if you guys get ready for it. Now stay tuned, guys. Later this week we're gonna be back for one more episode. Of course, the Beyond the Swanky podcast will premiere Saturday night, and then on Sunday we're going to be shutting K.L.P Entertainment down. I want to say after the podcast we're shutting the business down here in Atlanta, because again, next week we're up in New York. We have to get ready, so stay tuned for more news and announcements to come from that as well. Until then, guys, stay safe. We'll see you guys next week in New York, live from New York City, the K.L.P Aftermath Season 5 live show with your host, yours truly, K.L.P Kennedy Lucas. Live from New York is when our next show will be coming back, as sure as well. I cannot wait for that. I'm super pumped for that as well. Until then, stay safe, stay swanky, peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet.
You are now tuned in to Atlanta's hottest radio show.
Even the other stations are tuned in too.
K.L.P Aftermath Swanky with your host, Kennedy Lucas, on Swanky 93.3 radio stations. The Heat 94.6 radio station.